Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so happy to have a conversation with actor Alex MacNicoll. Alex has been in Bad Monkey, Transparent, The Society, the movie Valley Girl, and more. He was also an executive producer for the short film Tea by Blake Winston Rice. Most recently, you can see Alex as Dr. Van Marcus in the show Brilliant Minds. Thank you so much for being on my show. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah, and thank you for saying my name right and you got all the credits right, it was great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I was nervous about mispronouncing your name, so I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's get started. So, who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Oh, wow. Um yeah, I think in different ways, my well, professionally in the aspect of like I would say like work ethic or, motivation or any of that stuff. My parents, they're super supportive and both artists in their own right. And when I wanted to kind of go on this path of a career in the arts, they were both very supportive and they were just totally were like, yeah, go for it and, kind of like shoot for the moon type of deal and they're very supportive and so I would say them and also my dad was very like integral in me kind of getting into the theater department at my school because you had to audition for the program and come up with like have a monologue with a couple like a song to sing and I didn't really know any like I didn't really have any material to go off or a lot of knowledge and my dad he was in the theater his whole life and he was an opera singer so he kind of was very helpful in helping me find a song and helping me find a monologue that would work or that I could fit into so that was really, really fun. And but then as far as like professional as like somebody who's, working in the industry or somebody who's just like, that I've been able to work with, man, I would say I've gotten a lot of like tidbits from a lot of people. Something that I worked on when I was younger that kind of has stuck with me was something that Jeffrey Tambor said a long time ago, and he was kind of like, showbiz isn't for the meek. And I think showbiz has a lot of glitz and glam and all that, but the actual like lifestyle of the business is very can be very unstable and you might get one job in like over the course of like, months or something like that. Or sometimes it can be years for some people and it is an industry that's pretty challenging and but at the same time very satisfying and very fruitful with like the community and the people that are involved in it. So he said that because we were doing this pool scene where like I kind of had like this like flu-y kind of thing going on and we were outside and it was very much like, just kind of, just silly problem to have, but just kind of going through that and being sick and having to be in the water and then just doing all this and trying to do the scene and whatever and not having, you know, lips shaking and doing all that whatever but he was kind of like yeah showbiz stuff because there's people do these scenes where they're jumping in lakes that are close to freezing temperatures and having to shoot things or you're shooting things like overnight shoots and just the environments can just be challenging especially if you're on location and all that and you're working with 30 to 150 people on a set from all the crew and all the actors and all that stuff so imagine trying to do a task with two people, that can be challenging in its own, but you bring in 100 different personalities and, 50 different people from all over the place and you're trying to create this thing. That's why I think it's I know, I mean, it's kind of like cheesy to say, but it is like a miracle when like a project comes together and you create something and it impacts other people and it all comes together, you know? So it's yeah, it's a I don't know, it's a challenging business, but a very exciting one and something that I enjoy. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, so who has had the biggest impact on you personally?
wow. Yeah, I'd probably again have to say like my mom, I guess, you know, my parent just because somebody who I'm very close with and who I've known my whole life through all the different stages and ages and yeah, I think she is incredibly hardworking, incredibly patient. I wish I could be more patient like she is. She has the patience of a saint, but yeah, I try to take a lot from her kindness, from her work ethic. You know, I remember she was a social worker for I think almost 50 years and she, you know, just she dealt with a lot of really unfortunate and sad things, but she never let that change her like her view on humanity or the world or life and you know she just approaches every situation in life with grace and with patience and she's just so hardworking too. I remember she was working two jobs when I was in college because you know she just wanted to make sure that you know any additional bills like would get paid if they had to, and obviously you know I was taking on student debt and loans and all that stuff and you know she was just very supportive and helpful and then fortunately I was able to book some work when I got out of college and pay off the student loans and then pay off her student loans, which was great, and her credit cards, so I kind of was able to give back in a way like that. But yeah, I think she's I would have to probably say my mom has had the biggest impact on me personally. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate in the sense that, you know, my parents, we get along because I know a lot of people that maybe don't get along with their parents. So I'm very lucky with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom is my mom and my sister are my best friends, and so we get along. Um,
Yeah.
and and we also realize that, you know, not everybody is like that, and so we feel very lucky.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a blessing, and it's really great, and it's so lovely and wonderful when it works out, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. But yeah, very lucky when it does. So we're pretty lucky. Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
are. Yeah. Um, so what in your life brings you the most joy?
Wow. Oh, what in my life brings me the most joy? Um, I mean, currently, like at this very moment, I've been replaying this video game called Age of Empires, and it was something I grew up playing, and it was really fun, and you know, I started playing it again for the nostalgia, but also because it just holds up. It's a really great game, and you know, it has a lot of wisdom and value in it because it teaches history that maybe I wouldn't have learned, you know, from school and all this stuff. But yeah, and I get to play with friends and stuff. So I would say that's kind of like something that gives me joy, and it's like a cozy thing if I have some free time and I want to do. But that changes, you know. I'm sure like a month from now I'll not be playing that and I'll be doing something else. Something else that brings me a lot of joy lately is every Tuesday night we have a basketball league back here in my hometown, and so we have a group of friends that get together every Tuesday, and that's really fun. So I look forward to that, and we get to play basketball every Tuesday. Yeah, I rent out a barn with some friends over across the river in Pennsylvania, and you know that's a lot of fun. We play Magic the Gathering, and we work on our motorcycles, and we you know have jam sessions because they have drums and basses and guitars and whatnot. I usually just watch when it comes to the music stuff because I don't really play any instruments, but yeah, stuff like that, you know, just hanging out with friends, and yeah, that's kind of what I got going on right now. But
Oh, I love that.
yeah, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
Um, So, what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
Hmm. Biggest obstacle. Um, when it comes to career or just like life or
Really either.
yeah. I guess yeah, I mean I think biggest obstacle career wise that I think a lot of actors would probably relate to is just I think the casting process is challenging. It's you know, you're going out for a role and there's maybe 1,000 other people going out for that same role, you know, so it's kind of like that in itself is a huge obstacle. And then, you know, the it's something that's kind of somewhat out of it's majorly or I don't know, majorly. I don't know how to if that's even the word, but it's like it's really out of the actor's control. So it's kind of frustrating because it's an obstacle that, you know, it'd be one thing if it was an obstacle where it's like, okay, if you put in this amount of work, then you don't have to worry about it and you can break through that thing. You know what I mean? It's not like a tangible obstacle. It's something that just is part of it, and you know, you put in the work and effort that you can. You try to, you know, take advantage of what you can control in the situation, but then at the end of the day, it's really out of our hands, and it's something that's not personal 90% of the time, 95% of the time, maybe even more. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest professional obstacle, and then the biggest personal obstacle is trying to stay sane, I guess, in the sense of, you know, with this, you know, with having with choosing to do a career that there's so much that's out of one's control, and then just in general staying sane in general in the world, you know. I mean, society is pretty wild and crazy and it's beautiful, but it's also terrible and there's so much
Yeah,
crazy stuff happening and you know, just the human experience, I guess, in a you know macro level, which is maybe you know, I don't know, it's I don't know if it's an obstacle. It's just part of life, I guess, you know. But yeah, but I mean, for overall, I mean, I'm knock on wood, and I'm pretty fortunate and blessed, and I have wonderful friends and family, and you know, I'm comfortable, and you know, I love my life, I guess. But I guess, you know, just in general, it's like it's hard to sometimes it's overwhelming, you know, like life can be overwhelming. It's like there's so much going on and there's so much craziness and I don't know. It can't be ignored either. It's not like you can just like focus on the beautiful things. It's like, yeah, sure, focus on the beautiful things, but also I don't know, it's you can't just ignore all the craziness that's going on. So that's a challenge too. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get that. I definitely struggle with that too. Just so much there's so much going on in the world and constant like I don't know, bad news.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just trying to like know about it, but also not solely focus on that.
Right. Yeah. Because it's there, but it's not everything. You know, it's
Yeah,
part of it all, but it's not everything. So, and I think it's sometimes easy to get swept away in all the negative things happening in the world. But also,
yeah,
if you know, there's two sides to every coin, and on the other side is like all the tremendous beauty and wonderful things and the good things that are out there and the good things that everyone is doing all the time too. So
yeah,
it's this balance, but
yeah,
yeah, I kind of just I think it's a funny experience, you know, because we're living but we're dying, but we're you know we're experiencing amazing beauty and good things, and then we're also experiencing tragedy and terrible things, and how can all of that coexist? I don't know. Is it a simulation? Who the hell knows? Why are we here? You know what I mean? Like what is this human experience? You know, it's really fascinating and I don't know. The older I get, the more I just try to not take things as personal or try to, you know what I mean? It's like kind of like do the best you can with what you got, have patience, understand that we're all trying to figure it out and just if you can do something good, do something good. And when you do something bad, realize you did something bad and try to do better next time, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what motivates you even on days you aren't really feeling it?
Mm. Yeah, what motivates me? I think I think kind of similarly to what we were just talking about, like the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. And there's days when like I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, the glass is half empty, and it feels rough and it's tough. But then just trying to remind myself that no, like it may be tough right now, but it's temporary. Like this next hour might be really challenging even if it's something as simple as getting out of bed, because maybe one's feeling so overwhelmed that like, what's the point in having these kind of like existential, crises or, these like kind of breakdowns. And honestly, just like one step at a time, like reminding oneself, like for me, it's like, all right, if I can just, you know, take one step in the direction that I want to go for the day. And then usually that'll lead to another step and another step. And, it's something that is so simple, but for me at least, it's easy for me to just like let my anxiety or some negative thoughts take over and be overwhelming and just be all I focus on. And so I think every time that that's happening, I just try to remind myself that, oh, that's not the whole picture, even if it feels like it's the whole picture, it's not the whole picture. My brain is in survival mode or it's trying to figure things out and it's like, coming up with all the scenarios and the worst possible case scenarios and I'm focusing on that, but that's not what's actually happening, and I try to remind myself that this is just my personal perspective and personal view on this thing that's happening right now and I'm one of what 7 billion people or whatever, so it's like I'm like, oh, okay. I try to remind myself of like, how not like how insignificant, but like how small I am in the grand scheme of things. Because sometimes problems can feel so big, but then at the same time, it's like, all right, well, I kind of think that we're all in this together, this experience. I'm looking at you through my eyes, but you're looking at me through your eyes. So, like, this can't be my whole experience, and this can't be your whole experience. This is our experience. And we're all doing this together every day and experiencing this life. And it's so just incredible and expansive. And so I just try to like take that macro experience and just try to like come back to the now and to the one step and the next step, right foot, left foot, and what can I do right now in the next 10 minutes in the next hour that's gonna put me closer to where I want to be or to doing what I want to do. And then I find that it snowballs, but it's tough. It's like it's a daily thing and whatever works for the individual to kind of come back and remind oneself. Yeah. But for me, it's just like kind of checking in and being aware of like, okay, no matter how bad something is right now, it's temporary. And same thing for the other side of the spectrum. No matter how good something is right now, it's temporary, And it's kind of like having this kind of like being able to like, bounce back and forth between the spectrum and just kind of flowing on the spectrum and reminding oneself that everything's kind of temporary. And like we were talking about, like counting our blessings, counting our like the things that I'm really fortunate for and grateful for. And then that'll just usually frame my perspective a little better rather than just focusing on the negative stuff.
Yeah. What um drew you to Brilliant Minds?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so Michael Grassi, the showrunner and one of the creators, I've been auditioning for stuff of his for years. So that was probably like one of the very first things, like getting the email, seeing the breakdown of the project, and seeing his name was probably like the initial thing that was like, oh, cool. Like anything that Michael does, it's like, oh, wow. Like, it's going to be a good project. There's going to be good people involved. So I would say that would be like the initial thing. But yeah, other than that, it was kind of like, it's then you get to the audition process, which again, like we talked about, is completely out of our control, out of my control. So it wasn't like they were calling me like, hey, do you want to do this show? And like, yeah, sure, or no, maybe not. Like it was like, there was an audition process and I had to audition. But then the other part is like, medical shows are very interesting, and I'm not a doctor by any means, and I'm not even like the science world and the medical world is very much another language, for me. It's foreign to me, and things like that are always exciting because it kind of gets you out of your comfort zone and it gets you to learn new things and to experience other sides of life that one might not, experience. So that was all intriguing and very much, exciting for me. So I was like, well, cool. I'd love to explore that world because I've never, before that, I had never done any medical shows,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show I love, and I it was a show I looked forward to watching every
Uh,
week. Uh,
uh,
so
yeah.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for season two.
Yeah, we're hopeful. I mean, we loved making it and everyone was like it was just such a good group. So like we would love to go back for another season. So here's hoping. But and specifically for Brilliant Minds, like I knew who Oliver Sacks was, who the show's based on, but I didn't know like it was very limited what I knew about him. So like I don't did you know about Oliver Sacks before the show
I,
and all that?
I didn't.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's interesting, right? Because it's like then
Yeah.
you get to like learn about this really interesting, unique person who had this incredible life and who and talking about obstacles before, who had so many obstacles and challenges, but really, really incredible person and had his flaws like everyone does, but overall was just like really, really incredible and came and gave so much to the medical field and to humanity in general. So and that was really cool too. That was what was very fascinating about this project was like learning about Oliver Sacks. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so, what is your most memorable moment from a day on set?
Wow. The most memorable moment from a day on set. Um, I feel like I have a couple that are like maybe not like I mean it's not that they're completely inappropriate, but they're like, maybe like, so there's some crazy, funny, hilarious things that have happened and stuff like that. But a memorable one that's more PG, so to speak, and less like ridiculous and funny. Was on Transparent on Transparent we used to everybody as part of the dynamic of the show, Joey Soloway basically like, before the day got started, basically like we would all gather as a big group and anybody could step in front of the group and in a big circle and just say anything that they wanted really. Like, they could share something or do whatever. So you'd kind of like you'd have people who were there for their first day working on the show and they'd be like, oh, I'm so and so and I'm just so excited to be here and grateful to be here and just looking forward to it. Thanks everybody. And you'd have somebody would step up and say like, oh, hey everybody, I'm so and so and my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia yesterday, and that's just really a thing that's on my mind. And you know what I mean? And it gave the space for people to share and come together to support each other and just be there and be present with one another. And that I think is it's probably the most memorable thing that I've ever experienced on set because it just really created this incredible dynamic between everybody on set. So like we were all together as a unit, we were all connected, mentally, emotionally, and physically in that space. And so it was something that was so powerful and so loving and kind and it really like created a lasting impact. I mean, everybody that I know on that show loved working on that show, and it was such a special project because of things like that. This kind of like bonding experience that we all had that was, given to us. Because a lot of times, it's a lot of times the shows are kind of a machine, it's like you show up at this hour, you crank it out, everybody does their job, and then boom, you go home. And sometimes not everybody, sometimes departments, don't even know each other, people don't even interact. But that was a show where like everybody from, the PA to the executive producer to the grip to the gaffer to the wardrobe to everybody like knew each other and knew each other intimately in the sense of like I know what you're going through because you just shared that thing. And wow, my cousin is going through the same thing, or wow, like I've experienced that, or my kid has this thing, or whatever, you know what I mean, like whatever everyone was going through. It was such just a human experience and such a, I don't know, just this like kind loving space. So I would say that that was probably the most memorable thing I've ever experienced on set. Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah, I wish every set was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every
Yeah.
workplace, I wish every, place was like that. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I am pop culture obsessed and go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is
Uh-huh.
there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
There actually is. And I'm not really I like to be honest, like for better or for worse, I don't consume a lot of movies and shows, but there's a show called Common Side Effects right now on HBO. And I freaking like, like it's up. I think it's like episode 6 is what it's currently up to. It's a new episode drops every Monday, and I just think it's so well done and it's beautiful. It's an animated show, but it's really really well done. It's Mike Judge and a bunch of people, and Joe Bennett did the animation and everything. And yeah, it's just it's so good in my opinion. I just freaking love it. And so that's the show that I'm like, I mean, obsessed. I don't know if I'm obsessed with it, but I'm very, very, very much into it. Yeah. And there's only been a couple of shows over, my life that I've kind of gotten like that with. And like I used to show up to work late years ago when Breaking Bad got put on Netflix because I had never really watched it when it was on network TV. And I would show up late to my bar shift, and they'd be like, where were you? You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I was watching Breaking Bad, like I would binge it on my laptop, and I would literally like have to finish an episode, and then, and I would show up late to work. Thankfully they didn't fire me for that. Shout out to Colleen Tomko and Andy Tomko. But yeah, but currently Common Side Effects. Yeah. What about you? What's your show that you're
Um, right now, so since I was in LA for a couple weeks, I'm catching up on all the like episodes of shows I
right?
missed. So I was catching up this past week on I was catching up on The Rookie and Will Trent, and
Yeah.
I started watching Suits LA. Um,
Okay. Did you watch the original?
yeah, I did. I
Yeah, people love that show. I've never seen it. People like rave about it.
Yeah, I just watched I watched the original Suits when it was put on Netflix.
Hmm.
And I hadn't seen it before, so I binged watched all of that. And
No.
so yeah.
Yeah. So you like procedurals. You
Yeah.
like medical shows and crime shows and
Yeah, I do. I never thought honestly that I would like medical shows because I my mom and sister and I always joke that it's our life, so why would we watch our life on TV? Um,
Do you
but
think they do it justice? Do you think, or are you kind of like, oh, this is not how it is? Like, is there a medical show where you're like, oh wow, like this is very close to my experience?
yeah, I think there's things in like all the medical shows that I can relate to,
Yeah.
and all the medical shows that I really like and that I watch. I think uh The Pit is very realistic and very much like my mom and I watched that show together, and we every episode we can definitely we're like that is the experience.
Yeah.
And
That's the new
um
one on HBO, right? Because I feel like I
yeah,
see it when I'm watching Common Side Effects. Yeah, it
yeah,
pops up. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. And then I mean Brilliant Minds, it's I learned about a lot of different things I didn't know about before. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yeah, like you're saying, like most shows have at least something where it's like, okay, cool, like that's just like in real life, and that's
yeah,
like what what it's like. Yeah, HBO makes such good stuff. Like, I mean, I
yeah,
feel like all their shows are like, even if they're not my cup of tea, where it's like maybe I'm not into this genre or this type of thing, it's still well made and it's really well done. I feel like, the majority of the time.
yeah,
Yeah, HBO. Shout out to HBO. Damn.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I'll
um,
have to check out the pit. Yeah, because
yeah,
to be honest, I'm not medical shows aren't necessarily my like my forte, and like we were talking before, I've never worked on a medical show before, Brilliant Minds, and I never watched like Grey's Anatomy or any of those shows and stuff or ER, but people love them, and I get it. I understand. Like, I mean, but especially when you've lived so many things like that, these shows try to create and try to show. It's probably really interesting for you to watch it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I never watched medical shows for the longest time, and remember the first one that I got completely obsessed with was New Amsterdam.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which was another. It was NBC too, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was. Yeah, so that was the first one that kind of started.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, I had friends that worked on that, but I never watched it. Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, try to check it out. It's probably on Netflix maybe nowadays or something like that.
It yeah, it was. And then I was very upset when Netflix took it off just in January.
And did you email them? You're like, excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Ted. Yeah.
yeah, I should have because they took off New Amsterdam and Royal Pains. So actually,
Yeah.
Royal Pains was the first medical show that I got obsessed with, but I never considered it like a full-on medical show because
Right.
it's also just about like their
The
lives.
and stuff. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's cool.
I was very upset when both Royal Pains and New Amsterdam were taken off Netflix.
Damn. Yeah. Well, maybe they'll bring it back. Netflix kind of does that thing where
Yeah,
they take it off and they throw it back on, years later and you can binge it
yeah,
all over again. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just getting rid of actually some, my parents and like I was decluttering and I had all my DVDs, like all my, and I had some shows like, seasons of things and just movies and all that. And I was thinking that was the great thing about owning the DVD,
yeah,
was like you had the whole thing. So if whenever you wanted to watch it, you could just pop it and watch it. But nowadays with streamers, it's like sometimes they pull them or they don't have them on there. So, you
yeah.
know, it's available, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my family and I actually a while ago we were like cleaning out all our DVDs. And
Yeah.
there were things like I would not let my mom get rid of.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, and there was one movie that I love, but you can't find anywhere, and I found it on DVD, so I bought the DVD, because you can't
Which
find
movie?
it anywhere.
Yeah, what is it? Which movie?
It's called Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And it's with James Rode Rodriguez and Sir Patrick Stewart.
Hmm.
And it has a ton of other people too. And yeah, you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've even ever heard of it. Is it like a rom-com? Is it like a holiday feel-good movie kind of thing?
It's a drama.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. And the ending of it is it's very sad. And but there are some like comedic moments in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie.
Okay. Christmas Eve. Yeah, I'm just trying to even picture it. I don't think I've ever even heard of it. Yeah, that's good to know. Little gem.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I love that movie. So I was very happy that I found it on DVD.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. So you have a DVD player you can actually watch it on too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I had friends that got like PlayStations just so that they could like for the video games, but also because it doubled as like a Blu-ray player, like so yeah, it was and they still have it as their, they use it every now and then for their DVDs and Blu-rays. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have the entire series of Friends on DVD. My sister got it for me a few years ago, and when we were cleaning out the DVDs, my mom was like, "It's all on the entire show is on Max," and I was like, "I know that, but I don't want to get rid of the DVDs." So
Yeah, yeah, because
I
maybe you won't have your subscription forever too. Maybe they'll just
yeah,
keep raising the prices on subscription, and it gets to the point where you're like, I don't want to pay for that subscription anymore, and then you don't
yeah,
have it. Yeah,
yeah,
or they pull like you're talking about, they pull it from the site, and then then what
yeah.
do you do?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and I have like so many memories of, watching the DVDs for my because my sister got it for me. I didn't want to get rid of it. And also I
Uh,
had so many memories of um like after Netflix took it off and I had the DVDs just like watching it over and over again, so I didn't
yeah,
want to get rid
yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah. You can hold on to it for a little longer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you had a warning label, what would yours say?
Oh man. Uh, oh man. If I had a warning label, what would mine say? Um, maybe. Oh man, I don't know. Maybe like yeah, maybe like I don't know. Something along the lines of like is working on having a better filter, but means well kind of thing or or
Yeah.
something like or maybe only take two per day kind of deal, like like yeah, I don't know, something like that, I guess.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
Something that people are surprised to learn about me. Man, I'm not really sure. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe like I have. somewhat of like a nerdy side, but like I don't know. I don't know if that's just because I usually like I guess stereotypically I look like a jock or whatever, you know what I mean? But I love playing Magic the Gathering and video games and all those things. But I don't know if that's like shocking or surprising. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I got to find out. I got to ask around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then I would love to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'll follow back. Yeah, I'll call you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, so, what three words best describe you?
whoa. Um, what three words best describe me? Um, maybe ridiculous. Is one. What three word? I was thinking of something that want like a word that meant micromanaging or like OCD, like whatever. If there's a word for that, maybe that. And yeah, I mean, I think maybe generous also. I kind of take pride in trying to be generous and kind, and I think yeah, I think I like to. That's important to me. So maybe that ridiculous whatever word that we can find in the dictionary that means like control issues or micromanaging issues
Yeah.
and then generous. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What for better or for worse, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for you? I'm curious. What
Oh,
three?
I don't know. I'm hoping it would be um creative, uh loving, and I don't know, funny.
Yeah, that's nice.
Uh,
Yeah. Those are
I
nice.
hope, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you seem like all those things. So
Oh,
yeah.
thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so, what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Wow. Okay. What genre of movie would my life story be told as? Um, man, I mean, I think I would love it to be a comedy. I would love it to be, something maybe like a coming of age like dramedy or coming of age comedy, I guess. I think that's like life for a lot of people, but with a lot of adventure in there too. I love adventure and trips and traveling and I've had some really fun epic adventures and but yeah, but definitely comedy. I think life is, a very interesting experience and even just the fact that like we were talking about before, how there's all this kind of this seems to be this balance of positive and negative. So it's kind of like at the end of the day, it's like trying to find the humor in all of that or find the good or the joy or the positive and all that. So um, yeah, I don't know, maybe a comedy, and maybe we could sprinkle in a musical in there too. Like maybe there can
Yeah,
be somewhat of a musical aspect, whether it's like a montage with music playing, or whether it's an actual scene where there's a big singing and dance number that's
yeah,
comedic as well.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, that'd be fun, and maybe like a tiny bit of horror, maybe like a little bit of like psychological
All
horror,
right.
you know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
guess that's all.
love that.
Yeah, that's a lot of different genres. I think so. I'm sorry that's not like one
No,
genre
I
blended in.
love that.
Yeah, yeah. How about you? Do you have like
I've always wanted my life story to be a musical and a rom-com.
oh fun? Wait,
So,
did you watch what was it like Enchanted or whatever back when that
yeah,
was on?
I love
Yeah,
that
okay. Yeah,
movie.
yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite musical or a favorite like
Oh,
rom-com?
Oh, there's so many that I
Oh,
love.
yeah, just
Um,
yeah.
I'll say the first ones that come to mind. For rom-com, Home Again, um,
Okay. I
which
feel like I can see the cover in my head.
yeah, it's with Reese Witherspoon.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I love that movie. And musical, there's the first one that came to mind is The Prom,
Oh, it's
on
kind of
Netflix.
there was like a Broadway show too called The Prom
Yeah.
recently. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
the movie is yeah based on the Broadway musical.
Oh, fun.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'm not familiar with it. I mean, I know of it, but I've never seen it. So,
Yeah, I have seen both those movies. I don't even know how many times.
yeah. You
So,
know it start to finish, every single
yeah.
word, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Were
Uh,
you did you Mamma Mia?
what?
Did you like Mamma Mia?
I
Were you
did, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one that comes to mind is everybody's talking about Jamie. Or
I don't know that one.
I love that movie as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, the only thing that like when you were saying that the what came to mind was Everybody Loves Raymond, which was like a big
Oh,
show
yeah,
when I was growing up, and
yeah.
yeah,
I
very
love
different.
that show.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few episodes. Yeah, it's very silly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, what about you? What's your favorite musical?
My favorite musical of all time, ooh, uh Rent is definitely up there. Have you
Yeah.
seen Rent?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Rent.
have. I'm gonna say I'm gonna put that one next to The Prom.
Yeah, yeah, Rent for sure. I think like fun rom-com musical, probably like Mamma Mia, or or maybe I don't know, maybe like Grease or something. Like, would we consider Grease a musical? Is that,
Yeah,
that's yeah, like something silly and yeah, but yeah, I mean, would Robin Hood Men in Tights be considered a musical? Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
It's a fun one. Check it out. Yeah, yeah, it's a really good a comedy. Yeah. Um
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, I'm blanking a little right now. But yeah, I've seen a bunch of on Broadway that were like, beautiful. I mean, Hamilton and like, obviously what was the one I probably saw most recently? Maybe like Hadestown, like a while back. You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So do you ever you've been out to Broadway before, right?
Yeah,
You ever make a trip?
yeah, I've seen one show on Broadway. Um I went to New York with my family in October 2023, and we saw all of our first Broadway
Oh, no.
musical.
Which one?
Gutenberg.
Oh, Gutenberg. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The comedy with
Yeah.
Josh Gad and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I saw that too.
Yeah.
That was very
Oh,
silly.
cool. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was yeah. Yeah. I love Josh Gad. I like he's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love him, and Andrew Rannells is
Andrew
I've
Reynolds. Yeah,
in,
yeah, yeah. That's his name too. He's great.
yeah, I've interviewed him twice, and he's a really
Cool.
good friend of mine, and
Oh,
he's just
nice.
the best guy, and he invited me and my family to see the show.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's so good at
Yeah.
doing musical comedy. You know, he's great at he's I mean he's a great dramatic actor too, but like he's
Yeah,
like incredible
yeah,
at being able to sing well, but also to hit all the comedic beats, and his timing is perfect, and he as just a performer, he's really wonderful and fun to watch. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's great.
definitely.
Did you see any other shows while you were there?
We didn't.
Oh,
There were a couple that we really wanted to see, but we weren't able to.
oh, damn.
So
Yeah. That's how it is. There's always so many things, and it ain't cheap, you know, so hopefully
yeah,
you can get like using today
the,
ticks and stuff like that, but even that,
yeah,
it's tough to get a ticket. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah, is so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good. When you can see it, it's good. It's
yeah,
like the talent and the production value is, yeah,
yeah,
is really, really, yeah.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. It was just it was yeah, it was such a fun experience. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's cool. First time in New York?
No, my sister and I actually we used to go to camp in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was in the Catskills, so it was like our first, and we'd always take trips. I remember we'd always take trips into the city, like once during camp, but it was like our first time really in the city and exploring it, and yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, the Catskills are beautiful too. Really
yeah,
nice.
they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so it was so much fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Um, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And
Mm.
this week, the one that spoke to me is I deserve the world, so I'm gonna give it to myself. Um, is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Um, yes. I'm trying to think of one that's lately, like a newer one. Um, because I mean I feel like I kind of there's like the old classic ones, like even freaking Nike's slogan, like just do it, like that is
Yeah.
just like so it's so good. They just nailed it. But let me think, like lately, um mm, I think there was one, like I think maybe even like yesterday, I feel like I saw like a Georgia O'Keeffe quote that was like it was something like I've been, it was something along, I'm gonna butcher this quote, but it was something in this vicinity of quote. It was like something like I've been terrified my whole life, but that hasn't stopped me from doing what I want to do, or something like that. You know what I mean? Or doing anything. And it was like along the lines of like it takes courage to do anything in life. And so, lean into that kind of, be courageous, and especially, you know, just with any aspect of life, just even if you have like an ounce of courage, that's fine. Just boom, use it, and then maybe that grows into 2 ounces and 4 and 8 and 16. It just keeps growing and stuff. So I think it was just kind of like the idea that things are overwhelming, and life can be scary, and to lean in, and to, like you were saying, like you deserve the world kind of thing, where it's like you're part of it and you deserve it, and don't let fear stop you, really, lean into it. So that was probably the most recent quote that I can think of, and it was something along the lines of that.
I love that.
Yeah, 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 good old Georgia O'Keeffe, man. She
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
gem.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
Um, Well, that was my final question for you.
Cool.
I have had so much fun talking with you, so I so appreciate your taking the time and joining me. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yeah, and thank you for those questions. Those are great freaking questions. Yeah. I want to like ask them back and like yeah, like but yeah, so thank you for having me. It was a blast. And I appreciate that we both have our, you
Yeah.
have your Ariana, I got my Dikembe, and then we got similar tastes, but same but different, similar taste.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Glad I'm not the only one that has a life-size cutout or poster of somebody
Yeah.
in their
Oh
yeah.
yeah. No, it's actually very funny when it's a funny story how we got that, how I got that cardboard cutout. But when I did, my mom had the best time putting it all over the house to scare me and my sister.
Oh,
Uh,
that's great.
so yeah, she had the best time with that.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I can imagine coming home late at night and Ariana's just in the bathroom when you walk in.
yeah,
And
oh yeah. My mom would like put her behind the door. She once put her um, in the shower, so when we opened the shower curtain, she was just there. So yeah,
hey, yeah. Your mom sounds awesome.
yeah, she is. She's the best.
Oh, that's great. Fun. Yeah. I remember I was at a hotel one time and they had these penguins, like these purple penguins that were like huge. They were like, 5 feet tall or whatever. And they had them up and it was like, art. And but the staff there at night when everyone, after a certain hour, they would move them. So they would be in different places in the hotel. So then you'd walk down and you'd be like, wait a minute, did that like, like that wasn't there yesterday? Or like how that, that type of thing. And
Yeah.
but I had a lot of fun one time because I was there for like a few weeks, and so I got friendly with the staff there and everything. And on my last night there, they took all of the penguins that were in the hotel. There was like probably like eight or some of them, and they put them all out in front of my door, kind of like you're saying, like with the when you open the door, you pull your curtains. So I got out to go to work that day, and I opened the door, and there was like eight of these penguins just boom like right on my freaking hotel doorstep. Yeah, so
Oh, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah. We got to do more of that. We got to get more cardboard cutouts
Yes,
and people.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There was one time it was several years ago. I was in the hospital for a couple weeks, and my mom brought the cardboard cutout, and she decided to one night she and I decided we wanted scare because my mom volunteered at Seacrest Studios, and like we were friends with the people who worked there and knew them really well since I did my show there. Um,
Yeah. Cool.
and my mom and I decided to scare them. So it was one night, one night I was in the room and my mom took Ariana Grande down to the like to the lobby and to Seacrest Studios, and she used her badge to go into the studio, and she put it there to just like I don't know, I think in their office or something to scare them. And then I got an email the next morning from one of the people who works at the studio telling me that we almost gave her a heart attack with the
Uh,
um, cutout. So then my mom and I were like high-fiving, very proud of ourselves that we scared them.
yeah, I love that. That's
Oh,
that's your mom sounds like my kind of person. I love like jump scares and pranks and things like that. And yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But hopefully nobody gets hurt because of it, obviously. But like, yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my mom has the best time scaring me and my sister. Um, I think eventually, I think one day you guys will have to meet.
Yeah, yeah, we can, come up with some great scares, I'm sure. My some of my favorite
Yeah.
things on Instagram, like, these accounts where people are getting like jump scared, somebody's in the fridge and and they come out and they get, their thing and everything goes flying and
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm sure the people on the receiving end aren't thrilled about it, so, as long
Yeah.
as, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thanks for
No,
having me.
well,
Thanks for
yeah.
chatting.
Yeah, thank you so much again for joining me and for our great conversation. I've just had the best time talking with you. So thank
My
you
pleasure.
again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.